We're going to start as usual with just a few minutes of focused meditation on the breath, give ourselves a chance to calm the mind a bit. Today, I'm going to lead a little meditation that I put together for a course that I did on relationships and kind of working with the idea of oftentimes we talk about equanimity for groups of people, friends, enemies, strangers. But here we're going to work with just one person who can appear different ways at different times, trying to develop a deeper sense of equanimity towards whoever you have in your life that you consider to be someone close, whether it be a partner, spouse, or whether it just be a relative, what have you. So all right, so good. Let's just go ahead and start again with just a few minutes of meditation on the breath. No doubt you have a technique you already use, but if you need a suggestion, suggest working with the point at the nose where we feel the sensation of the air coming in and out through the nostrils. However you work with the breath, make that your meditation object and try to stay present with it as best as you can. When you see that the mind gets distracted, wanders, even gets maybe a little sleepy, try to recognize that and then correct that, bringing the mind back to the breath. Okay, so we'll begin. So now before we begin the guided meditation, let's set our motivation and think about the fact that until we tame our own minds, we're really going to be limited in what we can do to help others. So this meditation we're going to engage in today will help us to remove some of the attachment, the anger, even the indifference we might have towards others by working with simply one person. But these are things that we have to remove in regard to all beings so we can live our lives with an open heart, with equal regard for everyone. So set this motivation of wanting to work on yourself so you can be more skillful, better qualified to help others to tame their own minds. So again, we're going to work with just one person, a loved one, a dear one. So if we were doing the general meditation on equanimity, this would be somebody who would be in that group of friends, close ones. And choose somebody who you perhaps do have a bit of a difficult relationship with, in spite of the fact that they're very close to you. You love them very dearly, but at the same time, they do appear in different ways to you at different times. So choose someone to work with, and you can even visualize them in the space before you, here with you right now. And now recall a time when this person showed you great kindness. And in that moment, you felt the close relationship that you share with that person. And really feel the joy in your heart that you felt at that time when you were truly loving this person and being truly loved by them in return. And as you recall this experience, investigate as to whether this person was always that close to you. Weren't they at one time possibly a stranger to you? You may have had complete indifference towards them, not even known that they existed. And this relationship is subject to change. This person might at some point in the future become someone to whom you don't feel quite as close. Is it possible that the person that you see in front of you could say or do something that would make them lose that position in your life, no longer be this dear one, this loved one? So spend a few minutes investigating the transitory nature of that feeling of closeness and the role that they play in your life. Contemplate the possibility that you won't always have such a wonderful experience with that person who's dear to you right now. And now I'd like you to recall a time when that person wasn't so sweet, not so warm and fuzzy, perhaps a time when that person did something that greatly upset you. And remember the feelings that you had, the frustration, the difficulty, the irritation. Maybe you even had anger or hatred towards that person at that time. This person who you generally consider to be a dearest friend was more like a thorn in your side, an annoyance. You might even have seen them as being an enemy. And as you think about this event, first consider whether you're labeling this person as a nuisance, annoyance, even enemy was justified. Certainly, there was an event that occurred that caused your mind to get upset. But how appropriate is it to put that label on that person? Were they always someone who irritated, annoyed, or harmed you? Or does your experience with them demonstrate that they can change? That they weren't always that way, and that in other circumstances they once again can become someone quite dear to you? So spend some time investigating, contemplating the transitory nature of feeling annoyed and irritated with this person, and even consider the likelihood of the relationship changing, because it wasn't always that way. It won't always be that way. And now recall a time when this person seemed like a stranger to you, although they're generally dear, loved one. Perhaps, before you knew them, when they were quite new to you, or even at times in the relationship when, based on something they did or said, you felt that they were someone who you really didn't know as well as you think you did. Try to think of a time when they seemed like a stranger, and remember the feeling of confusion or indifference that you felt at that time towards this person. And as you recall that, contemplate how this person was previously, very often, a very dear friend, a loved one. Isn't it also possible that they might, turn into that again? Or perhaps they could even turn into someone difficult. So how valid is it to put this label of stranger on that person at that time and to have such confusion or indifference towards them, especially when the relationship is subject to so much change? So once more, reflect on how these are just sort of phases that this person is passing through, appearing at times to be a stranger. But is our indifference towards them really justified? So now recollect in these three occasions, how you had a different response to that person. The feeling of warmth and closeness, maybe even attachment that you have when they appear as someone very dear and very sweet, doing things for you that really make you feel good. And then think about the feelings of irritation, annoyance, even anger that you might have when they appear to be someone who harms you, who says things that offend you, who does things that you don't agree with. And then your response when they seem like a stranger, sort of feeling of indifference that just acknowledges them but doesn't really have any particular strong feeling, almost like a dullness that we have towards others at times. And then ask yourself, why do you have these different responses on these three different occasions? Is it simply based on what that person does for you or doesn't do for you at that point in time? Is it possible to have a mind that is equal or balanced towards all the various ways that your loved one appears to you? And now, Chuck, is there any real basis on which you can cling to these distinctions then? A basis for you to have only warm feelings at the time when they do something wonderful for you, to have aversion or cold feelings for them when they upset you, to have indifference towards them at times when they appear as someone foreign to you. Again, is it possible to maintain an even mind with balanced feelings for this person, even as you change the label you give to that person based on the various conditions or circumstances that arise? Is it possible to maintain that balanced feeling? And then lastly, let's examine whether it's possible to generate a true acceptance of this person, regardless of how they might appear at different times. And to do this, we can think about how much you yourself hold on to a view of yourself as worthy of acceptance, in spite of your own fluctuations in relationship to others. Recall how you yourself can sometimes change quickly from dear friend to difficult person in reaction to what others do, and how you feel a need to be understood as being basically a good person, despite all these changes in your own personality. Doesn't this person equally deserve your acceptance, your support, your attention at all times, whether they're appearing as a friend, a difficult person, a stranger? And then make a resolution based on this meditation, analyzing this relationship with this loved one, the different ways that they appear, how we can generate an understanding of that and react in much more beneficial ways, have a healthier response to them, and make this determination to develop and maintain a mind of equanimity towards that person that you've been working with in this meditation, as well as to all other beings as much as you can, trying to accept every one of them with an open heart, regardless of the specific circumstances of your own interactions with them, to try to see them through that lens of a balanced mind, an open heart. Let's dedicate all the positive potential we've created so we can develop our minds to the greatest degree, holding all beings with the mind of equanimity, generating great love, compassion for them, and developing ourselves so that we can help all beings to have happiness, to be free from suffering. And let's dedicate also for the good health and long lives of our precious teachers, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Geshe Tupten Sherab, Venerable Rabino, whoever it is that you have as teachers, as well as all those beings who play that role for others. May they all have good health, long lives, and may we and others always have guides to lead us on this path. And then lastly, dedicate for anyone that you're holding in your heart, extending out this positive energy to them, so that it becomes a cause to relieve their suffering, whatever is going on for them, and to bring them everything that will lead them to perfect happiness. And may all beings find true peace and happiness through what we've done here today. Wonderful. Thank you all so much. I hope this meditation was useful for you. And again, have a good week. Stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you again soon.